So today we're going to talk about a high bar back squat. Now the first thing that I want to mention about the squat is the foot position. So the foot position can vary depending on the person, okay? The two things we can vary is how wide we stand and where our toes are pointing. Now, what I would say is before you go into a back squat for the first time, is just test to see which position can get you the lowest whilst keeping your chest up. So for example, for me, if I have my feet narrow, toes pointing forwards, I try and squat down. I'm now already onto my toes and I'm already having to lean forwards a little bit. To stay on my heels, this is the best I can do. Okay. However, when I go a little wider and my toes point out, I can now stay on my heels, chest is up, and I'm getting as much depth as possible. Okay, so step two is thinking about the hand position and whereabouts we're going to be placing the bar. So what I want you to focus on doing is getting your hands as narrow as your shoulder mobility allows. So again, vary from person to person, as narrow as your shoulder mobility will allow. And what we're going to do from there, so let's say I'm in this position here, I'm going to think about pulling my shoulder blades back and down with my elbows slightly flared up. My elbows aren't pointing down, they're slightly flared up, and I'm creating as much tension in my back as possible, okay? Tension in the lats, tension in the traps. So when I go under the bar, I'm going to get into that position. So hands as narrow as my mobility allows, and then I'm resting the bar just almost at like the base of my neck on the soft, fleshy part. So the important thing is get on the soft, fleshy part, not onto the bone. So soft, fleshy part, which you will notice as I tense, will become more and more prominent. So as I create tension from my elbows, I'm thinking shoulder blades back and down. This is the position here, okay? Then obviously going to unrack and take a small step away. And another important step to think about is in terms of your breathing. So you've heard the word bracing before. If you haven't, then look it up. But simply enough, bracing is taking a big breath. That's going to go into my stomach, not into my ribs. So big breath into the stomach. I then tense my core, and the best way to do this is to picture someone's about to punch you in the stomach, okay? How would you tense your core to protect yourself, okay? And then all I want you to do is when you're going into a squat, think about going underwater. So at the top, when I'm about to go underwater, I take a big breath. I'm then bracing, I'm underwater, holding my breath, squatting down, and then exhaling as I get above water, and then taking that breath again. So finally, when we're in position, it's simply just down and up from here, whilst keeping my chest up, going as low as your mobility allows, driving up, okay? Now there are some nuances with squatting. It depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to squat as heavy as possible, there will be some adjustments to make. If your goal is to develop quads, there will also be some adjustments to make. But in general, this is a basic back squat that most people can get into. Again, just finding that best position for yourself in terms of your shoulder mobility and your foot position, okay? So test out going wider with your feet and with your toes pointing out wider/narrower. Good luck.